So you're telling me that Warner Brothers Discovery could settle the WGA and SAG AFTRA strikes for $70 million, but they'd rather lose $500 million instead. Hollywood executives just seem like they can't do the math.
Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.
Warner Brothers Discovery has announced it expects to lose up to $500 million due to the impact of the WGA and SAG AFTRA strikes. Now, the Writers Guild of America has been on strike against studios like Warner Brothers Discovery since May, and SAG AFTRA has gone on strike ever since about late June to early July. And as the WGA and SAG AFTRA have gone on strike for the first time since 1980, many of the studios like Warner Brothers Discovery said that they were not going to really feel the impact of these strikes, and Warner Brothers Discovery executives bragged about how they were going to save over $110 million due to many projects having to cease production. However, after taking a critical look at the balance sheets for the fiscal year for the studio, Warner Brothers Discovery has now found out that it's expecting to lose up to $500 million due to the impact of the WGA and SAG AFTRA strikes. Now, this is a major reversal for Warner Brothers Discovery, who thought that they could go out here and weather the strike and the whole perception that many studio executives had about looking to wait out most of the writers and the actors and for people to go out here and lose their homes. But what's really happening here is the studios are finding out that they are taking bigger losses due to their pride. Now, the entire cost of settling the strike for Warner Brothers as related to what the WGA and SAG-AFTRA are proposing would only cost the studio $70 million, because what the WGA wants is about $47 million as related to cost to the studio of Warner Brothers Discovery annually, and the cost of SAG-AFTRA's proposal was only $23 million. Unfortunately, because studio executives got caught up in their feelings about members of the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild wanting to go on strike for fair compensation for their labor and for conditions to be set as related to regulating things like artificial intelligence for being used in writing, and for there to be regulations as related to artificial intelligence and the likeness of actors not being used in film, and fair compensation as related to royalties as related to other forms of media such as streaming, and terms to be set for a set amount of writers in a writer's room to ensure that people get paid when they're working on these projects, whether they be on legacy media like television or on streaming services. What Warner Brothers Discovery and the studios wanted to do was try to stand against the writers and the actors as they got caught up in their feelings of pride. But it's looking to me like their feelings of pride is basically going to lead to these studios taking a big fall, because many of these executives really have not taken a critical look at the big picture of entertainment, and they're not seeing how having the strike continue to go on is one of the greatest tactical errors ever since the Telecom Act of 1996 was passed by President Bill Clinton. This whole strike basically will do more damage to Hollywood's infrastructure than the Telecom Act of 1996, because what's happening with this strike is that as every day that projects are out of production, what is happening is the studios are losing more and more market share to the internet. Now, TV, movies, and cable have been losing market share ever since went digital in 2009, and when TV went digital in 2009, the audience did not go and stay with television when we went from ASTC analog signals to NSTC digital signals. No, when TV went digital, people went digital by migrating over to the internet. And as people migrated over to the internet, they were not looking to watch all of these celebrities on their laptops and their cell phones. No, what they were looking to do was they found YouTube, and they found people like myself on YouTube. And as they found people like me on YouTube, they began watching people on YouTube talk about their passions and their loves and the things that they truly care about. And ever since people have started finding YouTube, the audience for TV has dropped over the last decade and a half, and the audience for television has dropped 50%, and Hollywood's box office has continued to drop as it still tries to recover from the pandemic and the shift from audiences going to the theaters to audiences basically waiting for streaming, where they can basically watch the same movie for just the cost of admission, as related to a subscription for a month. They can watch a movie that's big time for only $14.99 in their house, the price of one movie ticket. Whereas if they had to go to the theater, they would have had to spend at least $200 in order to go see that same movie with their family. So many of the Hollywood executives who are so caught up in their feelings about trying to get back at the writers and the actors for having the audacity to ask for fair compensation are seeing themselves taking even bigger losses, because as the strike goes on, they're losing money, because as projects that get greenlit have to be delayed, this affects the budget for those projects. So they're taking losses on stuff that's already greenlit that they cannot continue to film, and they're also taking losses as related to projects that are released, because those projects cannot get actors to come out to promote them, like many of the recent films like Blue Beetle and many others. Many of those films are taking big time losses because the celebrities cannot actively go out and promote them. But that doesn't matter to many of the Hollywood executives who are more caught up in their feelings about looking to be right about dealing with the actors and the writers, and some of them who are arrogantly believing they need to see people losing their homes, not seeing how they are taking major losses as related to this strike continuing to go on. And what they also don't see is that if the strike goes on for a prolonged period of time, they're going to lose even more market share to the internet, more market share that will be lost to YouTubers like myself, because as TV is being delayed and films are being delayed, what's going to happen is, even if they settle the strike this year or in 2024, they have lost a lot of momentum. And as they've lost a lot of momentum, they've basically lost the ability to even have a 2023-2024 season, because most TV studios have to be filming all of the episodes up to the February sweeps by this point. And again, you have to have all your episodes, if you're doing TV, basically done in the summer, so that you can get those episodes that are done before up to the February sweeps ready to go. You have to have all your scripts ready. You have to have all the shows filmed, and with nothing being filmed, they basically have lost the entire 2023-2024 season at this point. So there's a lot that Hollywood is losing due to this pride from these executives who refuse to go out here and just give the writers and the actors any sort of proposal that will give them fair compensation, and go out here and get rid of things like AI. What the writers and the actors are asking for isn't much, but because we've got a lot of proud executives like David Zaslav and Bob Iger what we're seeing is that the studios are about to take a huge fall, and this may be an even worse fall than the one that Major League Baseball wound up taking back in 1994. Now, back in 1994, the owners of Major League Baseball thought that they could go out here and go on strike with the players, and as the strike went on in a prolonged fashion, what happened for both sides is that they took a major loss as the audience basically walked away from baseball and were just angry about all of the greed from both sides. And because they were angry about millionaires fighting with billionaires, they basically lost their love for the game of baseball. And the game of Major League Baseball got a rude awakening when the audience just moved on. And that's what's happening here with this WGA SAG AFTRA strike. They are in a position where they're about to lose the audience, and if you lose the audience, you're not going to get support as related to the strike one, and even if you settle the strike, you may not get the support of the audience because the audience has moved on. And if the audience goes out here and moves on, what happens is there's no way to get people to come back to watch TV or go to watch movies or streaming shows. What is going to happen is people are not going to be interested in watching this media because they have basically felt like they've been alienated by these people who in the entertainment industry who have shown the average everyday American no respect, because as they're sitting there fighting over millions of dollars, what many average everyday working Americans who are living the paycheck to paycheck are looking at this fight, and they don't identify with either side because of all of the greed. Because again, if this strike could easily be settled by one studio for just $70 million, then there's really no reason for both sides to be arguing or fighting, because you're basically making more money than the average everyday American who is living paycheck to paycheck. And the average everyday American who lives paycheck to paycheck really doesn't care about seeing these sides argue with each other when they could easily settle the strike, get back to work, and go out here and make this money. Moreover, many of the people who make money off of Hollywood, many of the people who are stagehands, many of the best boys, the grips, many of the catering, many of these people who, again, live basically as related to making a living on many of these productions, they also are not going to be as sympathetic. That yes, they do agree that these things need to be dealt with in a contract, but a lot of people are not really as sympathetic because, again, millionaires fighting billionaires is not something that makes people sympathetic when you could just settle this all for, $70 million. I mean, if this studio, again, a $70 million film is a mid-level film these days, and you're telling me that you can't settle this for the price of a mid-level film that in your catalog. I mean, this just shows, again, that this is all about ego, all about pride, and again, this is what's leading to these studios about to take a fall. Yes, Warner Brothers Discovery did have a $1 billion movie in Barbie, but a $500 million loss as to your other films and your other long-term projects, which may go into the billions if the strike goes on. This, again, shows how people are letting their feelings get the better of them, and how pride will basically lead to the studios taking a huge fall. Because, again, these strikes have done damage. I mean, I look at the damage of the 2007 strike, which led to the cancellation of multiple shows like Jimmy Smith's Kane and many other shows. And I also look at the damage that was done with the 2007 strike as related to lots of projects being just being canceled and stuff getting lost. And it's, again, the studios not really thinking critically about the damage that they're doing, because this time they may have made a tactical error that may have cost them their audience, an audience that is fed up with all of the whole social justice narratives presented by Hollywood, fed up with the writers and the actors going back and forth with the studios, again, fed up with millionaires arguing with billionaires, and as they're fed up, the audience is thinking about coming to platforms like YouTube to watch guys like myself create content, because they feel like they have no relationship with Hollywood anymore. It doesn't provide an escape, and instead of providing an escape, they have alienated a lot of people who just sit there and look at it and go, $70 million would have just been all you needed to settle this. Again, when I look at $70 million, that's more than enough money for me to make a Temptation of John Haynes movie. I mean, $70 million, and you're saying that this is all you need to settle this at one studio that is $44 billion in debt. When you do the math on the numbers, you see that it's insane. It's insane that you have a studio that's $44 billion in debt and about to take another $500 million loss, and they don't want to settle with writers and actors for $70 million. It really just seems completely insane. And again, you would think you would want to settle that deal for pennies on the dollar, because you're going to make billions if writers and actors are working. You're going to make billions, but instead of you going out here and looking to make those billions, you want to see people broken and lose their homes. Again, that is the height of arrogance and the height of hubris from guys like David Zaslav and Bob Iger. You're making billions and you want to go out here and see people broken. That just shows, again, that this is personal and it has nothing to do with business, because any smart business person would have easily said, hey, we're making billions of dollars a year on these superhero movies. We're making billions of dollars on films that cost next to nothing. We could easily go out here, pay these people $70 million and be able to get on with our business. But instead of going out here and looking to take care of business, proud executives want to be right because they're caught up in their feelings. And as they get caught up in their feelings about their pride, they're about to have Hollywood take the worst fall in the history of American entertainment. Now, if you want to see me make more videos about the entertainment industry, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my action-packed fantasy fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my Black sorority novel, The Thetas, or my vampire novel, Eternal Night, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, All About the Goddess. The Goddess Next Door bears all in the art studio to catch a campus stalker in this action-packed ISIS series mystery. Get your copy of ISIS, All About the Goddess in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.